Hey guys, just finished watching Jessica Jones, Season 2, Episode 7, aka I Want Your Cray Cray. Um, this episode was an interesting episode. It was a really cool flashback episode. And it's interesting the way things went with this. And I thought that, how things were going to go, this was going to lead into the Kilgrave reveal and stuff. But like just before this, just lead into that. And it didn't do that. And I don't have that many kind of plot points to talk about here. But the whole pacing of this episode was interesting. I just would have liked to have seen a caption on the screen, kind of telling us, okay, this is how many years ago this was. How many years ago this was? A couple of days after the accident. This was, a few days after, a month after the accident. You know what I mean? It would have been better to see that because there's a lot of times where I thought that was the next day after the next morning, right after we just saw these same two characters, Jessica and her ex-boyfriend, her old boyfriend, and it just kind of was messed up until the character said it, and it was just kind of difficult to keep track of what time period where things were in all these flashbacks and how close were they. I think it would have been cool to see it just, now we're a month later, this or that type of thing, and just to get an idea of where and when things happen, because it is very difficult to keep track of the different stuff and how times are going, especially if you miss if you miss things, the dialogue. It just would have been nice. It doesn't need to be a full, month later, big screen, stuff like that, but just a little caption on the screen, just saying a month later, a month from that, months from this, a month, you know what I mean? It would have been just nice to just see that, be able to keep track a little bit more linear. Okay, I could see how it's going, where things are going, because sometimes it was just kind of weird. It was like, was this only a few months later? Like, how long has it been since that? And it wasn't clear, and it was confusing. At one point you see young Jessica actress, and then you see Kristen Ritter actress playing Jessica, and it's just kind of difficult to follow the timelines and where things were placed on that. So it was a good episode on its own. So let's jump into the things that happened. That was really good. Just the pacing was a bit it wasn't clear really at what times we were at as when we were. It would have been cool to get those little captions as to where time-wise we are. So it opens up with Alyssa Jones, Jessica's mother, talking about the car crash and how she woke up and stuff, and that was her, that Deadpool-looking character who attacked Jessica as a kid, and Jessica didn't realize who it was. We find out that Brian and Philip is dead, so I guess that kid that Ava Green was talking about, or Iva Green, Inez Green was talking about into Hogarth, is not actually Jessica's brother. We still don't get an answer to who does Jessica have in the boxes. The box is just kind of her father and brother mixed between two ashes, and they just kind of added, some random body. Is it someone else, or is it just her father's ashes split into two boxes and the kid in the one boxes, or whatever type of thing? That would be interesting to find that out, see who, or if there's another body that she has kind of there. I mean, no one would ever know. I mean, Jessica would never know that it's not her mother, but it would be cool to see which one is it, who's in there, and it would be cool to find that one out. Then we get to find out that Trish had a singing career after she did Patsy. She tried to do the pop star phase. It really is interesting to see them doing this, and clearly they're doing it very, very similar to Hannah Montana on the storyline, Miley Cyrus's story, except at the end of the day, she kind of fails it, whereas I'm assuming right now she's probably the same age as Miley Cyrus and type of thing, and it's just goes to totally different paths and stuff at the end of the day. And I like the way things are going with that. It was really cool. And then we get to find out that Jessica's her full name is Jessica Jones, Jessica Campbell Jones, which is interesting with that because in the comics, that's right, I googled it. Her actual middle name was is Campbell. And if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, from what I've seen in the wiki and Marvel wikis online, Alyssa Jones is actually one of Jessica's adopted mother, and not her actual biological mother. So I guess they're just kind of mixing those two characters and simplifying things, and to get their own story. And it's interesting when they do that. It's a little bit different, but still kind of keeping the same characters. I like the way they do it in that. Going their own path, but still very, very similar, only changing very minute things from the character from the comics, and that's kind of cool. We also find out that Jessica Jones' famous jacket was stolen. She stole it with her boyfriend, and I guess the reason why she keeps it is because it reminds her of her old boyfriend and all that. And I think that's kind of interesting with that, and how, interesting to see how, I don't know, understand why she would not just kind of throw it out and kind of not want anything to do with that jacket to remind her of what she lost and all that, but yet she keeps it around, I guess, as some sort of keepsake of him. And then we get, just her name, or the old boyfriend was Sterling Adams. And then we get her mother ends up killing her Sterling Adams when he's kind of the guys who are after him for money, one of the loan sharks. He tries to recruit her and set her up as to commit crimes and stuff, although her mother doesn't know that she's been doing that the whole time. And that's kind of how they kind of get blamed for killing killing Sterling Adams, and Jessica never finds out, or it's unclear whether or not, I guess she told her now in this, since this whole episode was her kind of retelling the story to Jessica. And then we kind of go from there. So that was interesting with that. The idea that her mother killed her old ex-boyfriend and all that stuff. And then Jessica ends up saving Trish at the end there from herself when she's, about to do something she's about to regret in the bathroom, involving the manager, the place. And that's when Jessica kind of sends Trish to kind of, says her to go see her mom and kind of go into rehab. And I thought that's where we're going to end there. Although since it's, Jessica's mother's telling that, obviously she doesn't know about the whole Kilgrave stuff. But I imagine that not long after that is probably when Jessica disappeared and went with Kilgrave. And I think that's going to be interesting to see if we get that flashback continuing on from there, because we can't be much farther away from the stuff doing there. And so I think that's kind of interesting with that, is how kind of Jessica, after the death of her boyfriend, I could see her going out now and kind of saving people and trying to save some people and stuff when she's feeling bad, and realizing that all of her actions that she's been doing, all of her negative and crime actions, has just brought more negativity on her. So if she feels like if she just starts helping people, she makes a difference. And I think that's where things are going to kind of while she's on that path is where she gets picked up by Kilgrave from season 1, where we saw that flashback already when they first met each other. So it's kind of interesting with that. But then we get back to normal time, which that one obviously was clear with that. But it was interesting and we see Jessica kind of, and her mother kind of tells her, can you ever forgive me for all that? And she just says no and hits her, sending her mother flying. And I thought, oh my God, we're getting a full battle between the two. But then Dr. Carl ends up drugging her, and that's where the episode ends. So all in all, like I said, it was a great episode. It was really cool flashbacks and stuff, and seeing the different stories and the everyone's history and her mother's side and stuff of the whole story. It just would have been interesting to see that, and also see how far at the end of this did see Kilgrave type of thing. Is this the beginning where Kilgrave started? Is that how he picks up by Kilgrave? That'll be cool with that. And then also, because all we would have had to have seen is just her go out one little step and literally take that clip from the first season and plop it in here. And it would be like, oh, then she goes off with Kilgrave, and that's where, they separated type thing. And it's quite interesting with that, how they play that. But just like I said, it would have been nice to see some, a month later, a year later, 2 years after the accident, a year after the accident, whatever. It would have been nice to have those time codes and just kind of letting us know where we are now, because at some points it just looked like the next day. It didn't look any different, especially when you had the same exact actresses almost in the same exact clothes, and kind of like, it just didn't really, it was really confusing keeping a track of where we are in time as we're going through this episode. So I would have liked to have seen that little captions for that. But other than that, it was a cool episode. I definitely am excited to see how things continue on in the episode 8, and really excited for that. And so let's jump into that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
To talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.